Hey, good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, and as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally does not work. Let's get open for business here, and let's wake up the football gods this morning as we sit here 1 week away from the Dallas Cowboys being on the clock with the 58th pick in the NFL draft. That is if they do not trade up. And I'm happy as pie because it's Friday, it's spring break, it's Easter, it's a holiday weekend, and we are just 139 days, 10 hours, 40 minutes, and 10 seconds away from kickoff of the 2019 season. Can you believe that? I know 139 days seems like a lot, but I got that clock when it was 226, and they are just ticking on down, and I'm excited as can be. So, we know Demarcus Lawrence has had his shoulder surgery. He ended up getting sent Snickers by Snickers. I said yesterday, I don't want him eating Snickers. I'm sorry. I don't want him to be a candy ass, and I don't want him to not be hangry. I want him to be a raging bull. I want him to be like a pack of wolves that haven't eaten in days. I want him to be going all out on Eli Manning. He ended up sending a text or Instagram or I don't know, or Twitter or tweet something to Eli and said, let's trade sacks for snacks. No, I want sacks. And he's still trolling him because the Giants GM had said that no, that they weren't interested in drafting a quarterback last year because they knew Eli Manning still had a lot in the tank and that they're looking at that same philosophy right now. And in fact, one of the top quarterback prospects out there who said, if I get drafted by the Giants, I got no problem being behind Eli. And that may be because that offensive line of theirs is so bad that you don't want to be out there on the field. That could be the case, but regardless. So when this post was put up, D-Law ended up responding with the prayer emoji, like, please keep Eli. Please, please don't go elsewhere. I'm not sure how I feel about the trolling and all that. I'm one of those old school guys that believe you just let your play on the field do the talking for you, and everybody else will do the trolling for you as well. But, I'm old school. In other words, I'm just old. But here we go. Let's start focusing in on the draft. I am not one of those draft breakdown guy experts like, my man DMV or Vash or E2 Blue and stuff. I just don't get into college football like that. But once they get into the NFL, I can tell you anything you want to know about the Cowboy players. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take an analytical approach. I love math. And look at drafts in the past. I've gotten down to 2013 so far. But I want to go through the last 10 years. Because math covers everything. You may hate math. You may hate formulas. But math, almost everything has got a mathematical pattern to it. Or you can find tendencies in it. And just in an early look at this, about on average, in the first 60 picks, you get about 4 quarterbacks taken. And generally speaking, only about 1 or 2 of them are any good. When you talk about wide receivers in the top 60, the low has been 5 and the high has been 10. And I'd say I haven't averaged these out, but you're looking at about seven to 8 wide receivers taken in the first 2 rounds. Tight end is a little bit sparse. You're looking at a low of 1 and a high of 5. So you're averaging about 3.5, 4 tight ends in the first 2 rounds. Offensive linemen, you got a low of 4 and a high of 12, and you got 3 years of 10. So, offensive line is premium. Running backs, you're averaging about 3 running backs taking a high of 1 and high of 4 and a low of 1. Defensive line, you've had a high of 14 and the low being 7. Linebackers, low of 6 and a high being 10. Cornerbacks, you've got on average about 9 to 10 going. But safeties, we've got 4, we've got 7, we got 2, we got 3, we got 0, we've got 5. So safeties are averaging about 3 per year in the draft in the first 2 rounds. So my thinking is this, and listening to Stephen Jones, because Stephen Jones said, listen, we've done a good job of filling in holes and positions and things. What we're looking for is a guy that we can plug in now that immediately makes us better at that position. I agree. Because you can look in every position we have and say, okay, we're capable with what we have right now. You want to add a running back, though, to have somebody behind Zeke Elliott. That's definitely a spot of need, but you can get some really good running backs in third, fourth, fifth round. Or even Duke Johnson if you want to trade for him. You look at the offensive line. I know Vaj wants to go draft an offensive lineman, but with, generally speaking, 12 of the top ones taken before 60, chances of getting one of those guys that you're going to be able to plug in immediately and make an impact this year, I don't think is going to be there. But if somebody falls, you can say, okay, well, we can get that guy and plug him in, and maybe we cut somebody else. Same thing with defensive line and edge rushers. Now, this is a deep draft, so you might be able to find one later in the draft too. But generally speaking, when you talk about 10 to 12 of them, you don't want to end up with a situation where you're reaching for, say, a Taco like we did last year. And that's no shade on Taco. Taco may become a great player. It just hasn't been shown thus far. So if you're looking for a position, and this is what's interesting, the team has 30 visits of prospects. And generally speaking, when the Cowboys have brought somebody in, they are somebody they have drafted. Almost every single time. They do their homework. They learn from the glass man, Morris Claiborne. Morris Claiborne, everybody looked at and said, "Oh, he's going to be a great college, great pro player and stuff." And they really didn't do their homework on that guy. That's when things changed for the Cowboys. They realized we cannot make mistakes like that in the draft again, giving up a first and a second. So they really and truly do their homework. They do the college visits. They bring them in if they really think they've got a chance to get them. They really check under the hood at the combine. Van Der Esch was one of those guys. And it was funny because I have a little birdie I was talking to the day of the draft, and they said that the Cowboys were extremely high on Van Der Esch, and that was the guy that they were targeting. I'm hoping I hear from that person before the draft, too, again, and see if that's the case. And I was kind of like, really? He's good, but, man, might be some better fit players. But you know what? The Cowboys did the homework, and they were right. So with these pre-draft visits, the Cowboys have spent 6 of them on safeties. 6. Including Mississippi State's Jonathan Abram, Florida State's Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Boston College's Will Harris, Washington's Taylor Rapp, Virginia's Juan Hill, and Michigan State's Kari Willis. All 6 of those guys have come in for a visit. And so when you think of 20% of your visits, 20% of your visits are all one position. Okay? So that means there's only 24 other visits that you could have between quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, defensive line, cornerbacks, linebackers. You're looking at about 8 different positions. So that means you're only averaging about 3 players if you were to spread it out equally in those other positions. Clearly, they're looking and checking under the hood under safeties. And as far as being an impact, when I talked about my chart that I still have over there, and I look at it, and as I look through these numbers, generally speaking, since 2010, there's been 2 drafts where there were no safeties taken in the first 60s. There was 1 draft since 2010 where there was only 1, and there was 1 draft since 2010 that only 2 were taken. So it's very feasible since, and here's the other caveat, since last year there were 4 taken, and the year before 7 were taken, and we've seen how safety has been devalued, where you saw how long it took for a lot of these safeties to get employed. My thinking is you may be able to get definitely one of the top 3, if not the second or possibly even the first. So when you say you're looking for, as Stephen Jones put it, this is a quote from Stephen Jones. I think you can always improve at any positions, Jones said. Obviously, if you look at the resources we have in terms of money or quality of picks, it's probably got the least amount of resources that we put towards any position on our team is the safety position. Xavier Woods was a later pick. Jeff Heath was a later pick. Kevon Frazier was a later pick. Iloka, we got him in free agency, but I would say we didn't break the bank on bringing him into Dallas. If there's a really good safety showed up and we think we can improve at some point in the draft, that we could certainly upgrade in terms of a particular position. So right now you're looking at Xavier Woods being the starter, and then you're looking at Heath, Iloka, and Frazier basically fighting for the other starting position. So if that guy is there, the Cowboys will definitely go at safety. And I believe with the way the draft has gone through over the course of the last, and I'm not finished with this, I'm going to finish doing this today. I'm going to be on the road going to my in-laws today with my niece and nephew. So I'll be on the road middle of the day or so. But I'm going to finish doing all this and finish looking at how this draft really should fall forward. And it's going to be interesting to see next week after the draft if it does fall into these patterns or not. But it's my belief that the Cowboys look at saying, we need that ball hawk in the middle. We need a game-changing safety. We have not gone safety since Roy Williams. And maybe it's time to look there and see if we can get an upgrade. I just don't see that if you go for an offensive lineman that you're going to get as much punch right now, early in the draft. You're not going to get another Tyron Smith at 58. I don't look at defensive line and say you're going to get necessarily a monster right there at 58 that you can't get maybe in the 3rd round. If you were a 1st round, I would say it'd be a little different. But at 58, I think you're going to get your biggest bang for the buck at safety. But we'll have to wait and see how it all falls out. That's at least my analysis of which way the Dallas Cowboys are going. I hope you guys have a great, great holiday weekend. If you're traveling, be safe out there. There's a lot of people on the road. And, of course, we'll keep you up to date with anything and everything that is the Dallas Cowboys. I'm Mark Holmes, and I'll see you soon.